Welcome back to the Week 9 edition of my weekly NFL Pick'em. We are officially at the midway point of the NFL season. This has always been a confusing time because as NFL fans we should really be excited because the season really starts to get exciting from here on out, but at the same time this season is flying by way too fast. This video is coming out a little later than usual because I wanted to wait and see how the trade deadline went down so I could see who was buying and who was selling, because that's a big indicator to where teams really see themselves moving forward. I have a confession to make, and it's the reason I wasn't tweeting much this weekend. I played a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2 this week. Type Red Dead in the comments if you got the game too, and if you haven't, I highly recommend it. It's really good. Not many things can steal my attention away from an NFL Sunday. It'll be interesting to see how well I do this week after not engulfing myself in games like I typically do last week. I still paid attention, but I definitely had Red Dead going on in the background. It wasn't the most riveting weekend of games either, despite me having my best week yet. Maybe that had something to do with it. It was a predictable week because it looks like a lot of guys did really well this week. I only missed on the Jaguars losing to the Eagles in London and the 49ers collapsing against the Cardinals in Josh Rosen's arrival game. Let's get into last week's picks. Here are the top 10 from week 8 with a three-way tie for the top spot. These guys got every single pick right last week. That's pretty awesome. And these are the leading entries so far in this Pick'em challenge, with RK Knoll in the top spot and the undisputed leader for the first time, dethroning Alan the God after his 1 week stay as the overall leader. Remember, the top guy at the end of the season gets an NFL Shop gift card. After a rough week 8, I fell to 83rd and was expecting to make a big jump this week after only missing 2 games. But like I said, I think a lot of people had a good week and I only climbed 7 spots to 76 out of 500. You guys crushed the 400 likes last week goal once again, and we are raising the bar to 450 this week. Unless you guys demolish this goal with like 700 likes, I think I might cap it off next week at 500 because I don't want to stop making these videos, and I think that 500 is a reasonable number based off the previous 8 weeks of videos. Thanks again to everybody participating. You guys have made this an awesome NFL season for me, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed following along with my pick'em struggle. Let's get started. Thursday Night Football, we have Raiders at 49ers. I think it's safe to say that on paper this is not going to be the best Thursday Night Football game. A couple weeks ago I said that I probably won't be picking the Raiders for the rest of the season because of the pathetic product that they've been putting on the field, along with the fire sale they've got going on. But this is probably their best chance that they have at getting another win this season. I'm not sure how the 49ers blew that game against the Cardinals, but I don't want to discredit Josh Rosen because he made some great throws in his first comeback win. The Cardinals collapse aside, the 49ers are the superiorly coached team, but I'm looking back at the Raiders' only win being gifted by the NFL, and I assume the league is really going to be hoping for a decent primetime performance from them so they can inject some hope in the John Gruden experience. And I could see a situation where the refs toss them an alley-oop to get another win. Raiders win 24-21. Steelers at Ravens. These AFC North rivals have had very different Week 8 performances. The Steelers got the 6th Brown coach fired in a row, and the Ravens came out kind of flat against the Panthers. These Steelers-Ravens matchups have been some of my favorite growing up. They are as close to old school football as you're going to get these days, even though the Steelers are not traditionally built around their defense anymore. The Ravens are still the #1 ranked defense in the league, and no other opposing coaching staff knows the Steelers personnel as well as the Ravens do. James Conner is the X factor here for me. Le'Veon Bell may or may not be suited up for the Steelers this week. I really don't care because he should be the backup running back regardless, at least in his first week back. Conner has been awesome this season and seems to be getting better every week. In the end, thanks to the NFL rules, the Steelers' #4 offense has the advantage over the Ravens' #1 defense. Steelers win 28-24. Bears at Bills. The Bears needed to get a nice little winning streak going to keep pace with the Vikings and Packers in the NFC North, and the schedule makers were kind enough to give them a couple of AFC East bottom feeders back to back. It has to be a nice confidence booster for the Bears defense to hold an offense to 10 points without their best player on the field. The Bills pulled out everything that they had against the Patriots on Monday Night Football, and it was good enough to keep them in the game for a few quarters, but they aren't nearly as familiar with the Bears, and Khalil Mack should be back this week, making it a challenge for Derek Anderson, Nathan Peterman, or even if Chris Ivory decides to line up at quarterback for them. Hell, Terrell Pryor just signed with the Bills and is probably the best healthy quarterback on that roster right now. The Bills are just a really bad team, and without their starting quarterback, there's no way that they win this game. Bears win 28-13. Buccaneers at Panthers. A lot of Bucs fans were pissed that I gave them a quarterback in my last mock draft, but maybe they are more woke to the idea that Jameis Winston shouldn't be your long-term option if you don't want to have to pull your hair out every Sunday from watching his poor decision-making. Ryan Fitzpatrick makes this one of the harder games of the week to predict. You have to think that he's going to bring back some of the Fitz magic he started the season with, but the Panthers defense is no pushover. So it'll be interesting to see if the Bucs go all-out air raid attack on them like they have been. If the Panthers can win the time of possession with their running game and keep the Bucs offense off the field a few times, I think they can create a couple turnovers on defense to be the difference. Panthers win 30-24. Chiefs at Browns. The Chiefs offense continues to roll, and this week faces a Browns team that just cleaned house of their coaching staff. It was a weird time to make the move of firing Hugh Jackson, in my opinion, especially if you were just going to fire offensive coordinator Todd Haley too. Everybody assumed Hugh Jackson was getting fired eventually. I just don't know how this helps the Browns win games this year. And of all people to take over as interim head coach, Greg Williams is the last guy I expected them to appoint this role to. They might come out ready to open the playbook against the Chiefs defense, but I highly doubt that they stand a chance to match the Mahomes show and company. Watch the Browns come out and shock the world. I don't know. It could happen. I'll still be rooting for them to do so because not many people will be picking the Browns anyway, so it won't mess me up as far as the standings go in this pick'em. But it would be interesting to see if Hugh Jackson was really holding them back that much. Chiefs win 34-24. Jets at Dolphins. We know what the Jets are by now, but I still can't figure out what's going on in Miami. Adam Gase and his coaching staff are about as hot as cold as they come, but I guess you could say the same about the Jets coaching staff too. At least the Jets have their quarterback of the future working through those rookie struggles. What are the Dolphins building around right now? Not Brock Osweiler. They should be building around Kenyon Drake, but he appears to be an afterthought in the offense at times. Ryan Tannehill will probably be on a different team in 2019, and who knows if he even comes back this season. With all that being said, the Jets are struggling to get anything going offensively and will be making their second road trip in as many weeks, and the Dolphins are coming off a few extra days of rest and hopefully preparation. Dolphins win 23-16. Lions at Vikings. Coming off their bye week and with their new run stuffer and Snacks Harrison added to the middle of their defense, the Seahawks were there to make somewhat of a statement game against, and the Lions looked about the same as they have all season. Underwhelming. And now they've traded away their best wide receiver in Golden Tate. Meanwhile, the Vikings lost a game to one of the more impressive teams in the NFL, so I'm not jumping off the bandwagon here yet. I saw Kirk Cousins getting some flack this week, and I don't get it. He's been awesome in his first season with a new team, and that's no easy task. The Vikings needed a team like the Lions this week to get back on track, and I think they do so in a big way. Vikings win 30-21. Falcons at Redskins. To say the Falcons have been disappointing so far this season would be a massive understatement. This is one of the most talented rosters in the NFL, but injuries have decimated their defense and they've just been overall unlucky so far. But this is a veteran team who is still very much in it in 3-4. The Redskins knocked around the Giants last week and Adrian Peterson looked as close to his MVP self as he has all season. That Redskins defensive line is no joke and has so much freaking depth that they can send guys in waves. I worry about the Falcons offense traveling to one of the worst fields in the NFL because they are a unit that performs best on a fast indoor track. I checked the forecast though, and it's supposed to be beautiful weather on Sunday in DC, so it won't be the swampy mess that it's been a few times this season already. Falcons win 27-23. Texans at Broncos. This Demaryius Thomas trade was the move that made me realize I needed to wait to see how this trade deadline went down before getting these picks out. It's not often that a player gets traded to the same team that he plays that week. It'll be interesting to see how much Demaryius Thomas actually plays this week, but the Texans felt like they needed another option after Will Fuller went down with a torn ACL. Thomas doesn't have nearly the deep speed of Fuller that he once had, but he's another big, imposing option to line up across DeAndre Hopkins. In this instance, the Broncos aren't necessarily punting on this season, but this is more of an endorsement for Courtland Sutton as the future wide receiver of the Broncos. He's been a lot better than they expected so early in his career, and I also saw a crazy stat that Case Keenum was second to Patrick Mahomes in 40-yard completions this year, by the way. That's one of the ways that stats can be misleading because he really hasn't been that great this year. I think that just means he's connected on some big shots. But in this revenge game for Keenum, I think that we see him ball out and end the Texans' 5-game winning streak. Broncos win 28-27. Chargers at Seahawks. Honestly, the Seahawks have really overachieved this season. They've had a favorable schedule and only have beaten the lesser teams they've faced thus far. Meanwhile, the Chargers, who are 5-2 and coming off their bye week, have only lost to the two best teams in the NFL in the Rams and Chiefs. The Chargers are rolling now after winning 4 straight and should have Joey Bosa back this week. While I could see the Chargers get off to a slow start, they should be able to shut down the Seahawks over the course of 60 minutes. Chargers win 31-23. Rams at Saints. Is it just me or does it seem like the Rams are playing one of the top NFC contenders every week? After a slow start against the Packers, the Rams were able to turn it back on when it counted and come back to win, making the clutch play against Ty Montgomery, getting him traded to Baltimore, and they avoided giving Aaron Rodgers a chance to make another miracle happen. But this time they're headed to New Orleans to take on the Saints with a new pass rusher in Dante Fowler. But let's talk about these Saints for a minute. I did pick them to win last week against the Vikings, but I expected an offensive shootout. This is what you get with the Saints' two-headed running back attack. They can win in so many different ways now and will adjust based on their opponent's style of play. This is a scary good Saints team, and the defense will look better in these games where they play more conservatively offensively. This is probably the hardest game to pick this week, but I'm rolling with the Saints at home to get the upset here, especially after seeing this picture of Jared Goff's Halloween costume. Yes, I'm hating. Saints win 38-34. On Sunday Night Football, we've got Packers at Patriots. This is the 2018 GOAT Bowl. The reason that there's always been so much debate on who is the GOAT is because it depends on what constitutes as the greatest of all time for you. Do you think that the GOAT is the most talented player at their position or the most accomplished? Which quarterback is truly the GOAT won't be decided on Sunday, but it will be a key contributor in the defense for one of those sides. The Packers gave everything they had last week against the best team in football for 58 minutes until Ty Montgomery took the ball out of the GOAT's hands for the final drive, forcing them to ship him to Baltimore for only a 7th round pick. The Patriots looked off for almost 3 quarters against the Bills, and there was that weirdness with the Josh Gordon being benched and then not benched. I don't know. The Patriots are not the same old Patriots we've been accustomed to, but they'll still run away with their division this year because of the other teams in it. Their offense was able to dig deep in the playbook to score more than the Chiefs a few weeks ago, but these are the moments that Aaron Rodgers lives for. These are his GOAT moments. Packers win 35-31. On Monday Night Football, we've got Titans at Cowboys. These two teams are almost mirror images of each other in that both offenses this season have set football back a decade, while their defenses have been better than expected. This could be a rough Monday Night Football game to watch. Both teams are coming off a bye week, so hopefully they had time to craft a better offensive game plan for this one. The Cowboys used their 1st round pick to pick up Amari Cooper, and I expect them to take a few shots deep early on with him to get him comfortable. I was a big believer in the Titans taking a step forward this year, and I have proof with Derrick Henry and Corey Davis taking up space on my fantasy benches. I know that Marcus Mariota has been dealing with some injuries, but I think he's regressed about as badly as his draft mate Jameis Winston, but in different ways. The concerns were that he was too reserved coming out of the draft, and those have shown up, and he kind of seems to lack that alpha dog mentality to really be a top flight passer in this league. The Cowboys defense has struggled with mobile quarterbacks this year, but Mariota barely even runs these days. I assume that the Titans have seen this on film, and they should probably try to get him moving more in this game, but I still don't trust their offense. Cowboys win 24-17. That's it for week 9, guys. Thank you all once again for watching, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff. Let's hit that goal again of 450 likes, and I will see you in the next video.